My brother caught me with his wife, and my parents tried to bail me out like always. But my brother went nuclear. He stripped us of everything, the house, the money, and his daughter. I've been bailed out my entire life. Every mess. Every failure. Every disaster I created with my own hands. My parents would show up with a checkbook and a speech about family and they'd fix it. They fixed the expulsion. Fixed the DUI. Fixed the credit card debt. Fixed the landlord I owed 4 months of rent. Fixed the ex-girlfriend who threatened to sue me. They fixed everything. And every time they fixed it, they taught me the same lesson. Brendan doesn't face consequences. Brendan gets saved. My brother watched every bailout. Every rescue. Every check written and every mess cleaned. He watched from the other side of the kitchen table. The side where nobody was writing checks for him. The side where good behavior got a nod and bad behavior got a parade. He watched for 32 years. Quiet. Patient. Taking notes. And when I finally did the one thing that couldn't be fixed, when I slept with his wife in his house while his daughter slept down the hall, my brother didn't yell. Didn't cry. Didn't confront. He did something worse. Something my parents and I never saw coming because we'd spent 32 years underestimating the quiet kid who never caused problems. He destroyed us. Financially. Legally. Personally. Systematically. With evidence and lawyers and documents and the cold, calculated patience of a man who'd been preparing for this moment without knowing he was preparing for it. Every smart decision he'd ever made. Every dollar he'd saved. Every legal agreement he'd signed. Every receipt he'd filed. All of it became ammunition. And he fired every round. My name is Brendan. I'm 28. My brother's name is Cole. He's 32. And this is the story of how the golden child lost everything to the invisible one. My parents are Vivian and Robert. Upper middle class. Nice house. 2 cars. Christmas cards with matching sweaters. From the outside, perfect. From the inside, a machine that ran on one fuel, me. My needs. My problems. My emergencies. Everything in that household orbited around whatever crisis I was generating that month. And I generated a lot of them. Cole was the opposite. Dean's List. Varsity tennis. Student government. Never missed a curfew. Never raised his voice. Never once required my parents to leave dinner early or answer a phone call from a principal or drive to a police station at midnight. Cole was self-sufficient from the age of about 14. Did his own laundry. Made his own meals. Drove himself to practice because my parents were always driving me somewhere. A court date. A therapy appointment. A meeting with a school counselor about my behavior. I know what you're thinking. Classic golden child versus scapegoat. Except I wasn't the scapegoat. I was the golden child. The one who got all the attention. All the resources. All the love. Not because I earned it. Because I demanded it. Because my problems were louder than Cole's achievements. Because a house fire gets more attention than a house that's standing. Cole was the standing house. I was the fire. And my parents spent 32 years putting out my flames while the standing house quietly reinforced itself until it was the strongest structure in the family. They just never bothered to look. Cole married a woman named Petra at 27. She was 26. Structural engineer. Sharp. Direct. The kind of woman who sizes up a room in 4 seconds and knows exactly where the weight is and where the weakness is. She and Cole made sense together. 2 builders. 2 planners. 2 people who measured twice and cut once. They bought a house 18 months after the wedding. 3 bedrooms. Good neighborhood. Petra designed the renovation herself. New kitchen. Open floor plan. Built-in bookshelves in the living room. Everything intentional. Everything precise. That house was them. Their daughter, Ivy, was born when Cole was 29. My parents' first grandchild. My mother went crazy. Good crazy. Baby clothes. Nursery visits. Weekly FaceTime. Ivy became my mother's obsession. She'd drive 40 minutes to see Ivy for an hour. She'd buy outfits Ivy would outgrow in a week. She'd post photos on Facebook with captions like, "My whole heart." Hashtag grandma, life. Ivy. 2.5 years old. Blonde hair. Huge eyes. Says Unca B when she sees me. Said Unca B past tense. Because I will never see that child again. The affair. I need to walk through this because the details matter. Not because they excuse anything. Because they show exactly how entitled I was. How completely I'd internalized the belief that nothing I did would ever have real consequences. Petra and I got close about 5 months before everything ended. Cole was deep into a case. He'd made partner at his firm 8 months earlier. Youngest partner in the firm's history. The workload tripled. He was billing 70-hour weeks. Home late. Gone early. Weekends at the office. Petra was alone with Ivy most of the time. She wasn't complaining. That's not who Petra is. She doesn't complain. She adjusts. She manages. She handles it. But she was tired. And I was there. I'd been coming over to help. That was the excuse. Help with Ivy. Help with the yard. Help with things that didn't need helping because Petra was perfectly capable of handling them alone. I manufactured reasons to be in that house because being in that house felt good. Petra talked to me like I was a person. Not like I was a problem to be solved or a bill to be paid. She asked me about my life. My interests. My plans. Nobody in my family asked me those things. They asked me what I needed. What was wrong? What I'd broken this time. Petra asked me what I wanted to build. And I mistook that for something it wasn't. The affair started on a Wednesday evening. Cole was at the office. Ivy was asleep. Petra and I were on the couch. I made a move. She didn't stop me. I should have stopped myself. Should have stood up and said, "This is my brother's wife. This is my brother's couch. This is my brother's house. His daughter is sleeping upstairs. This is the man who's never done a single thing wrong to me." I should have said all of that. I didn't say any of it. Because I'd never had to stop myself before. My parents stopped things for me. They caught the consequences before they landed. They stood between me and every outcome my actions deserved. So the muscle that says stop was never developed. It was atrophied. Dead. I had no internal brake because I'd never needed one. The brakes were always external. Mom and dad. Checkbook and speech. There was no checkbook for this. The affair lasted 3.5 months. In Cole's house. In Cole's bed. While Ivy napped. While Cole billed hours at a desk 30 miles away, building the career that paid for the house I was defiling. I slept with his wife in sheets he'd bought, on a mattress he'd paid for, in a room his wife had designed, under a roof his salary maintained. And I did it without a single moment of hesitation. Because Brendan doesn't face consequences. Cole found out on a Monday. Not through a phone or a text or a confession. Through his security system. Smart home. Cameras. Cole had installed them 2 years ago after a neighborhood break-in. Exterior cameras mostly. But there was one interior camera. In the living room. Pointed at the front door. For package theft and entry monitoring. Cole never checked them. Never needed to. The footage was cloud stored. Auto-archived. 90-day retention. Until Cole needed to check. His firm was handling a case involving home surveillance footage. A colleague asked him about his own system. He logged in. Started scrolling. Routine. Just showing a colleague how the interface worked. He saw me walk through the front door at 2:15 p.m. on a Wednesday. He saw Petra greet me. He saw what happened on the couch that was partially visible from the camera angle. He didn't need to see everything. He saw enough. Then he scrolled more. Different days. Same pattern. Me walking in. Petra greeting me. The couch. The hallway toward the bedroom. He scrolled through 3 months of archived footage and watched his brother enter his home 14 different times during work hours. 14 documented entries. With timestamps. Stored in the cloud. Auto-archived. Undeletable. His colleague said later that Cole's face didn't change. Not once. He scrolled through footage of his wife's affair on a laptop at his desk and his expression stayed the same. Focused. Clinical. The colleague thought he was reviewing case evidence. He was. Just not the case the colleague thought. Cole downloaded every clip. Organized them chronologically. Created a folder on his firm's secure server. Labeled it simply, evidence. Then he closed the laptop. Finished his workday. Billed 3 more hours. And started making calls. Not to me. Not to Petra. Not to my parents. To lawyers. To financial advisors. To his accountant. The calls of a man who'd just discovered the worst truth of his life and responded not with emotion but with infrastructure. 5 days. Cole spent 5 days building a case before anyone in this family knew he'd seen the footage. 5 days of normal text to Petra. Good morning. How's Ivy? I'll be late tonight. 5 days of pretending while he assembled the legal machinery that would dismantle his marriage, restructure his family's finances, and remove every person who'd failed him from his life. That's control. That's discipline. That's 32 years of being the quiet one paying off in the most devastating way possible. Because the quiet ones don't react. They prepare. And by the time you realize they're moving, the move is already finished. Cole didn't come home that night. Or the next night. Petra texted him. Where are you? He didn't respond. She called. Voicemail. She called my parents. They hadn't heard from him. She called his office. His assistant said, Mr. Whitfield is working remotely this week. Working remotely. He wasn't working remotely. He was working. On us. 5 days of silence. Then the letters came. Not from Cole. From his law firm. His own partners signed off on it. The best family law team in the city representing their youngest partner in a divorce and custody action against his wife and a financial restructuring against his own parents. Against his own parents. Let me explain. What I didn't know. What nobody in my family knew except Cole and my father. My father had borrowed money from Cole. 3 times. Over 6 years. First loan, $35,000. 5 years ago. My parents' roof needed replacing and their savings were thin because they just bailed me out of $22,000 in credit card debt. Cole paid for the roof. My father signed a promissory note. Second loan, $50,000. 3 years ago. My father's small business needed capital. Banks said no. Cole said yes. Promissory note. Interest rate. Repayment schedule. Third loan, $28,000. 18 months ago. My mother needed surgery. Insurance covered 60%. Cole covered the rest. Promissory note. $113,000. Total. 3 promissory notes. All signed by my father. All notarized. All legally enforceable. My brother had been bankrolling my parents for 6 years while they used their own money to bankroll me. The money flowed in a circle. Cole gave money to my parents. My parents gave money to me. I gave nothing to anyone. Cole was essentially funding my bailouts through my parents without anyone acknowledging the pipeline. Cole called in all 3 notes. Simultaneously. With his lawyer letter. $113,000 due in 60 days. My parents didn't have it. Of course they didn't. They'd spent their reserves on my problems. The money that should have been savings was scattered across my DUI lawyers, my landlords, my credit card companies, my mistakes. Gone. Unrecoverable. And now Cole wanted his $113,000 back. And the promissory notes were airtight because Cole doesn't sign loose documents. Cole doesn't do anything without a paper trail. My father called Cole. Finally got through. Not to Cole. To Cole's lawyer. My father said, "He's my son. I'm not negotiating with a lawyer." The lawyer said, "Mr. Whitfield, your son has instructed all communication to proceed through legal counsel. I can schedule a mediation if you prefer." My father hung up. Sat in his kitchen. Looked at my mother. He said, "We're in trouble." They were in trouble because of me. Every dollar they didn't have was a dollar they'd spent on me. Every empty savings account was an account I'd drained through 28 years of emergencies. And now the son who'd actually given them money wanted it back. And the math didn't work. Because the math never works when one child takes everything and the other child builds everything and the parents choose the taker. The divorce. Cole filed on grounds of adultery. Evidence, 14 timestamped security camera entries. Cloud archived. His attorney presented the footage in a way that was surgical. Each entry catalogued. Date. Time. Duration of visit. Cross-referenced with Cole's office billing record showing he was at work during every single visit. Cross-referenced with Ivy's daycare schedule showing the child was home during 6 of the 14 visits. 6 times. Ivy was in the house 6 times. Down the hall. Napping. Playing. Watching cartoons. While I was with her mother. 6 documented instances of an affair conducted in the presence of a minor child. The court didn't like that. The judge didn't like that at all. Petra's attorney tried to argue the camera footage was obtained without consent. Cole's attorney pointed out that the cameras were installed jointly, that Petra had access to the app, and that the footage was stored on a shared cloud account. Argument dismissed. Cole got the house. His name was primary on the mortgage. His income paid 80% of it. His wife conducted an affair in it. The judge awarded it to Cole outright. Cole got primary custody of Ivy. The 6 documented instances of an affair while the child was present were the deciding factor. Petra got supervised visitation. Every other Saturday. 4 hours. At a monitored facility. Petra looked at me in the courthouse hallway after the ruling. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her face said everything. "You did this to me. We did this together, but you started it. You walked into my house. You made the first move. And now I see my daughter 4 hours every 2 weeks in a room with a social worker watching. Because of you." She's right. It was me. I started it. I escalated it. I continued it. And when it exploded, Petra lost her daughter and I lost nothing because I had nothing to lose. The person with the least to lose always does the most damage. Remember that. It's the truest thing I know. The money. My parents' situation. Cole didn't foreclose. He negotiated. Because Cole is strategic, not cruel. He offered to forgive the $113,000 in exchange for the deed to my parents' vacation property. A cabin upstate. 3 bedrooms. Lake access. Bought 25 years ago for $60,000. Worth $190,000 now. My parents transferred the deed. Because the alternative was a $113,000 judgment they couldn't pay. Cole took the cabin. The cabin where we'd spent summers. Where I learned to fish. Where Cole learned to swim. Where my mother made blueberry pancakes on Sunday mornings. The cabin that was supposed to be family forever. Cole sold it within a month. To a stranger. Didn't tell us. We found out when my father drove up there on a weekend and saw a different car in the driveway and a different name on the mailbox. He sat in his car on the road for 20 minutes. Then he drove home. My parents moved. Not because they had to. Because the house felt different after Cole took the cabin and the promissory notes and the granddaughter. Everything felt different. They downsized. 2-bedroom condo. My mother said it was practical. I know it was grief. You don't leave a 4-bedroom house for a 2-bedroom condo because of practicality. You do it because every room reminds you of someone who's not coming back. Ivy turned 3 last month. I know because my mother has a calendar. Every milestone marked. First steps. First words. First birthday. She marks them even though she wasn't there for them. She marks them because stopping would mean accepting that she'll never be there for another one. Cole let my parents see Ivy once. 3 months after the divorce. A supervised lunch at a restaurant. 1 hour. Ivy sat in a high chair and ate chicken nuggets and said Gamma and reached for my mother's face. My mother held her hand and cried, and Ivy didn't understand why Gamma was crying. Cole sat at the end of the table. Watching. Not cold. Not cruel. Just observing. Evaluating whether the people at this table were safe for his daughter. At the end of the hour, Cole said, "I'll think about more visits." Then he put Ivy in her car seat. Drove away. My mother stood in the parking lot holding a chicken nugget Ivy had handed her and didn't move for 5 minutes. There were no more visits. My mother asked. Cole's lawyer responded. Given the ongoing financial restructuring and the family's demonstrated enabling patterns, further contact is not advisable at this time. Enabling patterns. A lawyer called my mother an enabler in a legal document. And she couldn't argue with it. Because it was true. She enabled me for 28 years. And the cost of that enabling was everything. I tried to talk to Cole once. Drove to his office. His assistant stopped me in the lobby. She said, "Mr. Whitfield is not available." I said, "I'm his brother." She said, "I know who you are. He's not available." I know who you are. His assistant knew me. Not as his brother. As the reason her boss was getting divorced. As the name on the security footage. As the person who caused the quiet, competent, decent man she worked for to restructure his entire life. She looked at me the way you look at a virus. Something to be identified and kept out. My friends found out. Not because I told them. Because Cole's divorce filing became semi-public through the firm. People talk. Lawyers talk. Office staff talk. Within 2 weeks, everyone in Cole's professional circle knew. And since some of those people overlapped with my social circle, the information spread. My buddy Marcus called me. He said, "Bro. Tell me the rumor isn't true. Tell me you didn't sleep with Cole's wife." I said, "I can't tell you that." He said, "In his house? While Ivy was there?" I said, "Marcus." He said, "Don't call me again." Hung up. 3 more friends. Same conversation. Same result. One by one. Like dominoes. Each one hearing the story and arriving at the same conclusion independently. What Brendan did is unforgivable. Not what Brendan did to his marriage. Not what Brendan did to Petra. What Brendan did to Cole. Because everyone knew Cole. Everyone respected Cole. He was the guy at the barbecue who brought extra charcoal. The guy who helped you move on a Saturday. The guy who gave legal advice for free and never made you feel small for asking. And his brother slept with his wife while their daughter napped down the hall. There's no spin that survives that. No narrative I can construct. No version of this story where I'm anything other than exactly what I am. The person who did the worst thing to the best person anyone knew. I wrote Cole a letter. Handwritten. 5 pages. Everything I wanted to say. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I know what I did. I know what it cost. I know I can't fix it. I know you'll never forgive me and you shouldn't. I just need you to know that I know. His lawyer returned it unopened. With a note. Mr. Whitfield does not wish to receive personal correspondence from this sender. Please direct all communication through legal channels. He returned my apology through a lawyer. Unopened. He doesn't even want my handwriting in his office. Doesn't want 5 pages of my sorry taking up space in a building he's trying to keep clean of me. My parents tried therapy. Couples therapy. To deal with the loss of Cole and Ivy and the cabin and the financial restructuring and the identity collapse that comes from realizing you raised one son to be a weapon and another to be a target and the target finally shot back. My mother told the therapist, "I just want my family back." The therapist said, "Which family? The one where you bailed out Brendan at Cole's expense? Or the one Cole has now? Because those are 2 different families. And Cole chose the second one because the first one almost destroyed him." My mother couldn't answer. My father stared at the wall. Same wall stare he's been doing for 6 months. The stare of a man who signed 3 promissory notes he couldn't repay and lost a cabin and a granddaughter and a son because he spent 28 years funding the wrong one. I'm 28. I live with my parents. In the condo. In a room that's not mine. Nothing in this life is mine. Everything I have was given to me by 2 people who are now paying the price for giving it. I have no job. No money. No brother. No niece. No Petra. No future that doesn't start with me acknowledging that I am the single common denominator in every disaster this family has ever experienced. Cole is 32. He has the house. The career. The daughter. The respect of his firm. A life so complete and so clean that when you look at it from the outside you'd never know it was built on 32 years of being invisible. He took everything not because he's cruel. Because he earned everything and we took him for granted, and when he finally decided to collect what was his, there was nothing left for us. My parents bailed me out my entire life. Every time I fell, they caught me. Every time I broke something, they fixed it. Then I broke something they couldn't fix. And the person they should have been catching all along caught himself. And took everything with him. The security cameras still work. Cloud archived. Cole never deleted the footage. He doesn't need to. It exists. Somewhere on a server. 14 entries. 14 timestamps. 14 documented moments of the worst thing I've ever done. He doesn't need to watch them. They already did their job. And I don't need to watch them either. Because I see them every night. When I close my eyes. The front door. The couch. The hallway. The bedroom. The daughter sleeping 20 feet away. Every night. Eyes closed. 2:15 p.m. on a Wednesday. That's my consequence. The one nobody can bail me out of.